Hello everybody, welcome to episode 8 of the collection review series. I'm going to be reviewing Pirate Crew, all the Pirate Crew in my collection. It's probably going to be the longest crew review because the Pirates have the most named crew in the entire game. So let's get started right away. The first one, Captain Blackheart. He's a SAT captain. This is one of the better crew in the game. He's an essential crew if you play in competitive fleets and if you're a Pirates player, and if the Pirates are your favorite faction. He combines two of the better abilities into one crew, and realistically the sack ability only costs 2 points on this crew, but it probably should have costed at least 5 points because it's a really powerful ability. And then similarly, Calico Cat is another staple of pirate fleets. The same action twice ability as I've talked about in the other crew review videos. This one is one of the better abilities in the game. Any opportunities you get for more than one action in a turn are just really great abilities. They can be used really effectively on gunships and gold ships as well. Jeffrey Flores. This guy gives you broadsides attack BA and the captain ability for just 6 points, which broadsides attack usually costs like 4 or 5 points, so this isn't actually too bad of a deal. Broadsides attack, as I've already talked about before, it's not a very good ability though. It's best if you have rank 2 cannons and if you get a better percentage damage bonus by using it on a smaller ship. So a ship with maybe a couple of 2S cannons might be well suited for Flores, but other than that I don't really try to use him very often. Havana Black is exactly the same as Captain Blackheart, but since they're different characters, you can use both of them in the same game. And this is pretty powerful because not many other nations have 2 SAT captains. So the Pirates got the best named crew in the game, and they often got them, as Flores illustrates, they often got those crew for a cheaper cost than other factions. And this version of Jack Hawkins is another good example of that. He gives SAT and the crew protectability for 6 points. Most of the time these two abilities cost 7 when they're on the same crew, like you'll see in the American crew review video. So Hawkins is really good. He got a bunch of different versions. We'll see more of him soon. Phantasma, this guy got a bunch of versions as well. This one has the home island rating ability, and then if he's eliminated, he just comes right back. So that's pretty cool for only one extra point, because the home island rating ability eventually usually costs 4 points on crew. The Stomp, this is one of those crew point reducers. This is only useful in specific situations if you have a big ship and then you have a ton of crew on board and you really need a crew like this to lower the cost so that the crew can actually fit on the ship in terms of the points. Laughlite, again, this ability is usually 6 points. So here's another example of the Pirates getting a discount on crew abilities. This is the Admiral ability. It's better in higher point games like 80 plus points, or in longer games like campaign games, because you're not likely to roll a 6 very often. Don Pedro, this is one of the better crew in the game actually. He has the sack ability and then also the treasure trading ability, so you can trade away like bad UTs or like low value coins from a wild island in exchange for a coin from that island you trade to. And so this guy is really great crew overall. He's really effective in competitive gold running fleets. You can use him, some ships I've seen him on, like the Banshee's Cry with Jonah. Some certain strategies with him can be really effective. This guy has 2 abilities, but the tough part is you're supposed to take the treasure randomly either way, so even if you know what's on the opposing home island, you're still supposed to take it randomly when you pick it up, so they'd have to be reshuffled, so you can't really combine them as well as you should be able to. So I would usually house rule that so that you can function as intended, but either way 7 points is kind of a lot to pay for that combo. The Patch, this one I don't really seek crew. I've already said this, I think I don't seek this ability out very often, but if it kind of depends on your playstyle too. If your play group or the people you play against most of the time, if they use a ton of terrain or if they string it together a lot and you're in the mood to use like a bigger ship but there's like a ton of reefs out there, he could actually be a pretty good crew to bring along in that case. Okay, so now we get into some of the Barbary Coast promo crew. This version of Blackheart is weird. He gets +1 against other pirates, so that's kind of strange. The other version is pretty much always better. Genny Gallows, her Spanish main version, which we'll see soon, is much better than this version as well. Bones Wiley, the reroll ability is pretty good anyway you look at it. The pirates actually did not get Zero Limit Ransom reroller crew, which most of the other main factions got. So that's one of the only weaknesses the pirates have in terms of named crew. Bloody Jake, this ability is really only worth 2 points, so this is a total ripoff. I would never use him. Lady Baptiste, this one is good. Her original version is just like Wiley, gives reroll, but this time this one's a little better because it combines captain and reroll into one cargo space, which is nice. And then here we get into South China Seas, the Headhunter. This one is a really cool crew. It's the same as Derek the Red, which is a crew from the Frozen North set. They both give the World Hater and the Sack abilities for 6 points, which is a really great deal. It's also a pretty unique combination of abilities. The Diamond Strike ship also has these two abilities built into the ship, but both abilities are really effective for gunships, so I would highly recommend trying to get a hold of this crew. Here's another version of Calico Cat, one of her many iterations. This one has Captain and Reroll just like this version of Baptiste. Bonnie Peel is really unique. She has the gold capture ability, so if you capture enemy crew you can unload them at your home island for worth gold points. So this is a really effective crew. Most of the other ones get this ability at a higher cost, so this is pretty much the most cost-effective version of this ability because it only costs 5 points here because she has the captain ability as well. This is it's kind of a tough strategy to pull off, but if your opponent uses a lot of high-value named crew and things like that, and you get pretty lucky with boarding rolls and things like that, you can actually rack up the gold pretty quickly. Here's another version of Jack Hawkins. This one is wasting points on the reverse captain ability. So, as I've said in other videos, you can't combine these two, you can't chain them together. They have to be used independently. So it should be 5 points. The reverse captain ability is not as effective as captain, so it should be about 2 points for that second ability there. Hammersmith gives you the escort ability and then a +1 to boards against mercenaries. Not too effective. His other version is considerably better. Benito de Soto is the same as the Jack Hawkins we just saw. Should be 5 points. That would make a lot more sense. Jack Hawkins, once again. This one gives +1 to boarding rolls along with captain. I don't really think +1 to boarding rolls is an ability to seek out using very often. I'd rather have reroll because it's more versatile. And when the swing is 1 to 6 on a die roll, +1 doesn't really affect the outcome that much in terms of the percentage it changes. And also I think it's definitely a 2-point ability like it first showed up in Spanish Main. So he should be 5 points. Here's Calico Cat. So these two crew I'm going to group together. These are from Ocean's Edge. These are pretty much the best two deals in terms of points on named crew in the entire game. So Calico Cat, this version of her has the extra action and World Hater abilities. So extra action ability is worth 5 points and World Hater is worth 4. So she should cost 9 points pretty much, especially because both of those abilities are really good and those abilities aren't really they're not underpriced at all. And but instead she's just 6 points, so you get like a 3-point you save 3 points by using both of the abilities in this one crew. And then Crimson Angel, similarly, this one should cost 7 points, but instead she only costs 5 because SIT is usually the first ability there, the same action twice ability is usually 3 points, and then World Hater is 4, so she should be 7. So these are two of the best crew to get a hold of in the entire game. Two good pirate crew, great pirate crew. This guy, he has a better version, 2 other versions that are better that you'll see in the other videos. Pretty similar to Hammersmith's first version there. Griffin, this one is good. Captain reroll, like we saw with 2 other crew. A nice combo of abilities. This one is unique because you get fear on a crew, which is pretty unique. The pirates don't really have many crew or ships with the fear keyword 2. It's not too good, but at least it's appropriately costed here. Fear initially was overpriced, but here as a 2-point ability, that's pretty much what it should have costed. Calypso. This one is super unique. This is a one-of-a-kind crew. You can 50% of the time you can create whirlpools, 2 per die roll per turn. So this is a really unique crew. It's pretty tough to use. It's best used in combo with various other things like protection from Davy Jones, the unique treasure that says that the ship can't be damaged by whirlpools. You could use it with gunships to try to like surprise an opponent. You could use it with gold runners to try to get gold really fast. I did that in a game recently on Vassal. And you could also use it with Home Island Raiders, which is probably one of the most interesting strategies to try to use her with. Definitely one of the most fun crew in the game. Captain Davy Jones, this guy's really unique as well. He gives the fear keyword. He's a little confusing because he gives this weird targeting ability with the Kraken, which gets pretty confusing. And then that one ability there, though, anytime any crew are eliminated, you roll a d6, and then if you get a 6, they become linked to Davy Jones and can use their abilities, which is pretty cool. So if you pair them up with a reroller, you can start to like recycle crew from enemy fleets or your own fleet too. You could kind of save people that way. Alright, so this guy, I mentioned him in the pirate ships video. This is arguably the best named crew in the entire game. So you can see he has the captain ability, and it's only fitting that this is the most famous pirate in pop culture and almost all of history in a weird way now because of the movies and their prevalence. But that second ability is why he's so good and pretty much overpowered, and also basically a broken crew. And when I say broken, it means that he pretty much breaks the game for the most part because he's too good. So it kind of like it's kind of unfair. Basically, the way you use that ability to maximum effect is you park some ships at home with a bunch of oarsmen aboard, and then you send out a really fast ship like the Hai Peng, possibly combined with like Hidden Cove and an Explorer, things like that, and then this guy aboard, and then basically you just explore islands, and then instead of having to transport the gold home by sailing it home like normal, you can just fling it home with Sparrow here, and then you get an oarsman in return. So then you can combine that with a crew like Don Pedro here, who can trade away negative UTs, and then you can sack the oarsman for extra actions, and then trade home even more coins afterwards, which is just ridiculous. And then just to maximize it even more, you can have those little ships at home with the oarsmen aboard that receive the coins from CJS here. They can have like Genny Gallows, who has like a +2 gold bonus aboard, so then they can just undock and then redock at your home island, and then you can unload the coin that way and then get like a gold bonus on it. So there's various fleets. Darren at Miniature Trading was the one that, as far as I know, at least in terms of the forum and the fleet section at MT, kind of pioneered the use of that, and it's pretty much the best fleets in the game use this crew. As of this video is being made, Vassal Tournament number 2 is still going on, and the fleets, I think it's like 3 out of the 4 fleets in the semifinals use this crew, or maybe all 4 or something like that. And basically, he's just ridiculous. So this is pretty much the best and most consistent way to win the game if you use him as effectively as he can be used. There's also other fun things to do with him, but in terms of like pure effectiveness, he's pretty much number 1 in terms of crew in the entire game. Will Turner, this guy, same as Jack Hawkins, captain +1 of boarding rolls, nothing too special. Swan here, she just has reroll. I don't have her rare version here, but it does give the Admiral ability where you can give an extra action to any ship in your fleet if you roll a 6, just like Lafayette, who we saw earlier. Sao Feng here, extra action, which is nice. Pirates have a lot of double action crew, as you're seeing here. This regular version of Barbosa, Captain, World Hater, this is one of my favorite combo abilities in the game because I always need better cannon rolls because I roll pretty low usually on shoot actions. This is a very good offensive crew to use. Blackheart, this version of him just has like the crew massacre ability. So the Spanish main version of Blackheart is the best version of him, along with the all-powerful version from Ocean's Edge, which I don't have yet because I don't have the Zeus from Ocean's Edge. Cannonball Gallows, just like Sao Fang, extra action on a 5 or 6, the EA ability, which is great. This version of Calico Cat is supposed to cost 3 points, so it's pretty much the exact same crew as the Spanish main original version of her, other than the Loyal Pirate keyword, which doesn't really make much of a difference. As long as you use her on a pirate ship, that immediately satisfies that keyword, so it doesn't really make a difference there. Captain Maishin, this guy, Mission, he had a few versions, technically 3 total, which we'll see soon, and this one is the most interesting version of him in my opinion because you essentially get the parley keyword for 1 point, which is pretty crazy, and the parley keyword is really cool. I think it's underrated. You could use it on a gold ship or a gold runner. It's a really great keyword to have, and it can kind of tip a game too in your favor if it is used at the right time, and if you get lucky with the coins, or if you strategically unload low value coins at the outset of the game or early in the gold race. So Hammersmith, I already said this version was better than the other version of him that gives the escort ability, because this guy, just like Thomas Gunn and Hermione Gold that the English have, he gives the captain and helmsman abilities into one crew. He does have hostile England, so you can't use him in a fleet with any English game pieces, but that's a small price to pay for such a good crew. This is pretty much the perfect hybrid crew because if you use him like on a hybrid ship, it saves the cargo space and gives you the 2 essential abilities that a hybrid really needs, which is captain and helmsman. So here's the other version of Maishin with this spelling at least. And this ability I don't really like because I usually roll 1s on shoot actions quite often. So I'm not really good using this ability because I'll just end up shooting myself in the foot. But if you're a lucky die roller on shoot actions, he could be worth it sometimes. Bar style, this guy is really unique. He gives that same gold capture ability as Bonnie Peel, but then he has the explorer keyword as well instead of captain. So he's pretty tough to use compared to Bonnie Peel and Blackbeard down here, who is just like Bonnie Peel but costs 2 points more, but it's probably still more effective than Barstow in most cases. But Barstow, as a result, is pretty fun to try to figure out how to fit him into a fleet. Putting him on certain ships works a lot better than other ones. This is kind of a more advanced crew, especially in terms of fleet construction, than some of the other crew out there. I like him a lot. I think he's really cool, and it's always fun to try to work around 2 abilities that they don't like complement each other as much as you'd like them to. Coconut, here's another one with 2 abilities, Explorer and Reroll. This one's pretty good. It's interesting. This is another interesting one to set up because Reroll is usually better on some kind of gunship, but then there's the Explorer keyword. So this one would be good on like a hybrid or maybe a gold runner that's using like an extra action crew where you try to get a 5 or 6. And then Grim the Sea. Alright, so here we get into the FNS Fire and Steel historical crew. So Bartholomew Roberts, he gives Captain the Trading Treasure ability, which is a nice combo for a hybrid. I'm actually working on a custom version of him right now that kind of emphasizes capturing ships, like taking prizes like he did in real life. Blackbeard, just like Bonnie Peel, 2 points more, like I said. One of the most expensive name crew in the game in general, actually. Thomas 2, Captain, and then he has a really unique ability to take unique treasure from another ship without winning a boarding party. And then it's kind of powerful because you get to reveal all treasure board the other ship, which can be good for like strategizing and seeing what your opponent has. I haven't really used this ability too much. It's kind of pricey and kind of tough to use for what it's worth, but it can be useful in the right situation. Again, more kind of like Barstow, more of an advanced tactic to a degree. Christopher Moody, this guy just gives captain, then the crew massacre ability to kill the other crew. The original version of Jack Hawkins is one of my favorite crew in the game. He's kind of a simple captain, but then he gives a little extra ability to eliminate crew when the ship gets pinned, which is a nice ability to have. And then his monkey Skyme here, that's not a bad ability. I like it better on ships. I don't really like to pay for it because then you have to take up a cargo space here, which is annoying. The original version of Phantasma had a home island raiding ability, just like the second version, the Crimson Coast version we saw earlier. And then he was linked to Ghost Crew. This ability is usually at about 4 points with most of the named crew that have another ability built in, like we'll see with the American crew video. Genny Gallows, I talked about this a little bit with Jack Sparrow, Captain Jack Sparrow, and this is a game-winning ability. This should probably cost at least 5 points. I'm thinking 6 or 7 would have been about right. And I know that seems kind of extreme to double the point cost, but this is, like I said, it's a game-winning ability. This is a must-have crew, period. End of story. And if you don't believe me, you can look at Vassal Tournaments number 1 and number 2 to really see just how powerful and valuable it is. Jenny's Red Rampage, this one, +1 to boarding rolls. At least this one is appropriately costed. 2 points is what that ability should cost, so that's nice. That was part of the reverse power creep, actually. As the game went along, the sets were released, more and more sets came out. The abilities started costing more for no good reason, which is part of the reverse power creep, along with ships getting slower and more pricey for no good reason. And kind of, some of the minor factions really paled in comparison to the original 3 factions, for example, too. So some of the newer stuff really didn't hold up well. David Bones Wiley, this original version of him has an ability that I don't use very much. It's tough to use unless you know that you have like a 1 or a 0 on your ship and then the other ship has a higher value coin, in which case the link makes a lot of sense here. Lucky the Parrot lets you look at face down cargo on any ship. So this is a really cool link, but for 4 points you're usually better off getting like a couple helmsmen or maybe even like a cheap ship like the Carrion Crow, stuff like that. But it is a nice combo if you can manage to pull it off effectively. And then Gasper's one. This one, this is just like the stump that we saw earlier. So if you need the extra points, if you don't have enough point space on a ship, he might be able to help you out there. His brother Fidel, +1 against the Spanish. Nothing too exciting there. Jonah, this is a really neat crew. Seen these in the other crew videos as well. Usually not worth it to use, but pretty interesting ability there, which can save you in certain situations. Alright, so the next crew is Amos here. This is like a recruiter crew, which I don't use very often. It's better in like larger games and games that might go a long time, so then you might not know which crew you want on your ship, and then you could bring in like a shipwright or a helmsman based on the situation, or maybe a specialist. I think a specialist would actually be a good use for this crew, whether you want like a chain shot or a fire pot specialist. This one, Philip Lafayette. Philippe. This ability is decent. I don't really seek it out too much, but it's a solid little combat ability. Bruce Gray, it gives the World Hater ability, which is awesome because it makes all your cannons better. This version of Blackheart's not very good. Similar to the Rise of the Fiends version. This one's interesting though because it can allow pirate ships to turn cursed with the black mark keyword. And then, like I said earlier, the reverse captain keyword should have costed 2 points, not 6. So it's not a very good deal for your points. This version of Sky and the Monkey is kind of cool because if you want a boarding card, you can take all the treasure. This is best used on a ship with a lot of cargo, so then you can maximize how many coins you can take. But for 5 points, it's usually not the best use of your points. This is the original version of Captain Mission with the alternate spelling. This is from the Mysterious Islands set, and this one is actually really good. He gives the extra action ability and the crew protect ability, which is arguably as good as the Parley version of him that we saw earlier, the super rare version. It just depends on your taste, what you're going for, and how many points you have left in your fleet, things like that, and what ship you put them on too, because this one is best for like a big gunship with a lot of crew on it, and then the Parley version is better on like a hybrid or even like a Gold Runner with like a surprise captain. Vlad the Iceblood, this one, I don't use crew like this too much, but he gives the Ignores Terrain ability along with the S Explorer ability, which is a pretty good deal for just 4 points. Empress, this crew is terrible. Has a super specific ability at a total ripoff. So if you win a ram roll against a sea monster Titan, remove 2 segments instead of 1. So it's like, this is probably one of the worst crew in the game. Basically, you're not going to be ramming sea monster Titans very often because they'll be submerged before they attack early sea monsters. I don't think I've ever, well, I probably rammed a Titan, but I'm not really sure. Usually you're going to get rammed by a sea monster or a Titan instead of you ramming them. And then, even if so, you still have to win the roll still, and then usually your cannons are going to do a much better job with just the captain for 2 points less. So this is a really, really terrible crew. Probably should have costed 1 point maybe. It's so specific and not very useful at all. This crew is unique because this one's the only one that has Parley as the only ability it has, which oftentimes Parley shows up as like a 2-point ability, but for 3 points it's still a pretty good deal considering what you can get out of the ability. And then there you see the flavor text for Tia Dalma. She's the pirate canceller. So I just have Damsel face up because it's a little more unique. And but Tia Dalma is as important as any other crew the pirates have because she gives them crew canceller, which is basically the best named crew ability that showed up consistently throughout the game. And then we have these ones. Cursed Crew 1 and Cursed Crew 2 are just basically like the Musketeer and Cannoneer abilities. Basically, they just made them named crew, but even then, it's kind of lame how they just have like numbers. Cheval from Pirates of the Caribbean. I actually have most of these unique treasure, like crew for twofers type thing here, with both on the same card, but most of them are in my unique treasure binder because as I explained on a recent Pirates CSG podcast, actually, I find it a lot easier to memorize the crew abilities, but rather than the unique treasure, exact ability text of the unique treasure. So most of those are in my UT binder actually, which I'll go over as part of this series as well. But Cheval has a really great ability, eliminating cargo on every hit, which very rarely showed up on crew. So he's actually one of the better crew the pirates have, and kind of underrated just because he's overshadowed by some of the face crew, like I talked about earlier, the ones with that have the crew portrait where the coins are in this card, and also because he didn't really play a big role in the At World's End in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise compared to the other characters, so he's kind of underrated and not really that well known either. Jocard gives +1 to card spaces, similar to, or the same as First Mate is Male from England, so pretty good ability. Could be used on a gunship or a Gold Runner, probably a Gold Runner, but pretty solid. I kind of wish it was 2 points. It's still useful at 3, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying to have to resort to using him. And then last but not least, we have Crimson Angel, which gives this ability, which they don't really need at all, because as we've seen in this video, the pirates have a ton of named crew and a lot of good ones, so they don't really need this ability very much. There is a limited edition version of this same crew that gives the captain ability along with this ability for 6 points, which is a little bit more useful. So this was episode 8 of the collection review series, and the next faction you can kind of see there, but especially in terms of ships, the next faction in the faction order in my collection is the Americans, so you can look forward to that. And thank you for watching.